puppy, cheat me, woo, woo, woo. All of a sudden, he's your frequency. You see him making proposals full of verbal indecency. When you're meeting me, flashlight and bugs. Wasn't writing like bugs, got 3 strikes. You got last nights for thugs. Holding my position, my competition is never ready. Look like I'm a chef. My alias smack a rep to what they tell me through the grapevine. Niggas ain't trying to see me paid, they'd rather take my retaliation takes time. Create rhymes that's so ferocious that the baseline. Once for my vocals every time a nigga say it's rhyme. Spinning them bustin', you thought up, but you must prepare. Niggas are scared, I'm eternally thugging like kamikaze to a suicide mission. I'm spitting multiple gunshots, turning rappers to victims. I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough, you puffy wait. Gunshots, turning rappers to victims. I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough, you puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away. Gunshots, turning rappers to victims. I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make 2 Glocks full of ammo. My army fatigued, ready for battle, lyrical commander. Let's get it on. Tell me, nigga, how much you can handle. Banging on wax, I turn the track into a Roman candle. Boom! My intention specifically, thugged out, no sympathy. Pictures of closed caskets. Soon as bad to get with me. First the bomb. First there's the calm, then the panic. Soon as my niggas break, the whole planet. Having seven. Motherfuckers try, they can't get it, it's death row. West side outlaws till we die. Thug life, motherfuckers on the ride and we first to bomb. Multiple gunshots, burning, turning rappers. The victims, I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough. You puffy away, you puffy crawl away, you puffy crawl away. Gunshots, burning, turning rappers to victims. I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough, you puffy crawl away, you puffy crawl away.
But I wouldn't skip much. I wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Run with a round rush, thinking I know. Is there ever a nigga? It's another fucking hood. I'm dead. Cause I'm hopeless. What's wrong with a mother? Stop, don't go out. Crawl away, you puffy crawl away, you puffy crawl away, puffy got beef cause I'm this click, cool, come bring your ass nigga, you can get this, I'm worldwide.
How the hell I get on here twice? Hold up, y'all. You hear me? All right. Technical problems already, man. Hold up. Let's start this over. Here we go. One more time. Here we go.
What's that? Bitches now fuck. Right, I told you once you can't trust her. Don't victims, I kick them all day. And my motto, make Queen Puff pay. I make it rough enough, you puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away, you puffy crawl away. Gunshots, burning, turning rappers to victims, I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough, you puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away, you puffy crawl away. Puffy got beef cause I'm dissing his clip. Cool, come bring your ass, nigga, you can get this. I'm worldwide, steady roll rapping. Get your cash on, nigga. 5 times flat. What's that? Daylight got a problem with the shit. Ever since my 7 feet stop rising. I ain't saying shit. Wendy Williams is a fat bitch, that's the truth. I got a jar full of niggas nuts, that's for you. Let the west side, east side drama see. I come along to your own streets. Outlaw, never panic when I unleash. Niggas is lucky if they leave here in one piece. Queen Puff never had no heart to stop, so how the hell Biggie Smalls get the part? Multiple gunshots, burning, turning rappers to victims, I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough, you puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away, you puffy crawl away. Gunshots, burning, turning rappers to victims, I kick them all day. And my motto, make Biggie Smalls pay. I make it rough enough, puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away. You puffy crawl away.
Coming to my house, don't you ever bring scare business to me. You're looking at the toughest rascal Jamaican in the United States of America. I run shit, I feel for nothing.
Come on, I murder. I was born as a rebel, make a double for the devil. Take this gangbang shit to a whole nother level. Can you feel me now? Homies in every city, definition of power. Players, all you witness see the war is the prophecy. Survival is the strategy. Rest in peace to my comrades, that's the season. Organize the streets of town, yeah, these devils petrified of a nigga in his right mind. They tell us that we hopeless and hellbound. It's for the brothers in penitentiary jail down. I got you in my heart till the day I die. Think of the damage we could do if we wasn't high. Can you picture me low? This is the thug's rap. Contracts and bloodbath. From a Zulu, you call up in the Rockies, so they got you. I never let them stop me. The struggle continues. I'm sick of years and I disappear. Listen here, if they take me alive, I'm doing years. I'm sick of years and I disappear. Listen here, if they take me alive, I'm doing years. I'm sick of years and I disappear. Listen here, if they take me alive, I'm doing years. I'm still on fear. And just when I thought I passed, fucked around and went low on gas. Check it out. They try to ban me because the rubbers making noise a lot. I tell the essays and the boys about to poison plot. They got me trapped and now I'm shot and getting harder. Running from the top as I try to cut my block. The war won't stop. That's why they wanna ban the music. Yeah, but notice how the cops can't stand the music. See a black man cooling with a Mexican. We can all have beats on the sets again. Give a shout out to my homies in the pen. They try to keep us down, but we clown every time we hit the top 10. Once again, it's your friend out of Oakland. Oakland, they keep the hip hop clubs open. Now we can fight, let them close them. We can have beats at shows so we control them. Ain't nobody getting paid, it's a damn shame. Why gang bang brothers in the same game? They security to blame cause they holding it on. Brothers come to have fun, but they setting it on. One time, make it worse when they sweat us. Send an army of pigs to come get us. I'm running out of time and it's cool down with the Aztecs. And it's something called soul food.
You know I ramp with bumbo clock, man.
Listen here, if they take me alive, I'm doing years. I'm still on years and I disappear. Listen here, if they take me alive, I'm doing years. I'm still on years and I disappear. Listen here, if they take me alive, I'm doing years. I'm still on fear. And just when I thought I passed, fucked around and went low on gas.
I'm glad y'all niggas finally did that. Motherfuckers was saying about flavor. Now these niggas right. So, y'all see
I thought I was tired too. Well, I mean, I might well just, I mean, you know, I did an important show today, but let's look at some of this Diddy stuff, you know, peek in on that. Let's go. Diddy trial, day 7. Diddy trial. Diddy cutting up. Diddy cutting up.
Huge news. You can get a son of for just $3. Wait, I said son of. Look at the words. Son of Baconator is $3. Thank you for bacon that just won't quit. Gotta be Wendy's.
A Grammy award-winning artist take the stand as soon as tomorrow in the sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. We've learned prosecutors plan to call rapper Kid Cudi as soon as tomorrow.
Hey, Puff Daddy, they said he blew up this man's car right here, man. I mean, I don't know what's so special about it, especially since, I mean, she was ran through by a bunch of people, man. Shit. Is it worth your life, Kid Cudi?
Briefly dated Cassie Ventura. That would be after the wide range of witnesses we saw today. Cassie Ventura's mom, Regina, testifying about her daughter's bruised body and the pictures she took after Diddy allegedly beat Cassie, saying she wanted to memorialize it. Ventura's mother also telling the jury she took out a loan to pay Combs a $20,000 that he demanded to recoup.
Wait a minute. How in the hell did she take out a $20,000 loan for Puff Daddy? He supposed to be the one that got all the money. Somebody make that make sense.
Money that he had spent on her, saying she was scared for her daughter's safety. That money ultimately returned to her by Combs. Also taking
extorting people.
The stand, the male escort known as the Punisher, a nickname he said he earned playing basketball. He went into graphic detail about an alleged sexual encounter.
The Punisher.
With Ventura that included applying baby oil and a nude man in the room. A man he later knew to be Combs. Telling
Is that my cousin? Might be one of my cousins, man. God. Oh, man. Hey, baby. Shout out to my queen, Jenny Hayes. I think one of my cousins is a male escort, man. God damn.
Jury, I was specifically told to not acknowledge him. Try not to look at him. The jury also hearing about Combs's love for Heinz 57.
Hey, you know, they said Cassie was picking them out. They said she was picking out the Mandinkas. You know, hey, let me just be quiet, man. Shit, hey, the Hayes name speak for itself. That's all I got to say about the situation.
Catch up from a former personal assistant as prosecutors try to use his testimony.
Running the family.
To establish Diddy's leadership of an alleged criminal enterprise. Coming up, what he said about an alleged incident involving Combs and rival Suge Knight at a diner that made him feel like his life was in danger. Plus, Don Richard's attorney, Lisa Bloom, joins us after her client's big day in court. But first, let's start in Lower Manhattan, outside the federal courthouse. ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky back there again today. Aaron, you were once again there in court. Cassie Ventura's mother, Regina, took the stand. What did she say?
Regina Ventura said she was physically sick by an email that her daughter had sent her just before Christmas in 2011. It indicated that Sean Combs was blackmailing her. Regina Ventura said this email, and the jury saw it, read that he was going to release 2 explicit tapes because Combs had found out she was dating Kid Cudi, and also
Puff that ain't shit.
threatened to harm both Cassie Ventura and Kid Cudi, and she said she became scared for her daughter's safety and agreed to send Combs $20,000 that he had apparently demanded to recoup some of the money that he had spent on Cassie. She said she
petty as hell.
He took out a home equity loan to come up with the money and wired it according to instructions sent by Combs's bookkeeper. Now, Regina Ventura said the money ultimately came back, but this testimony backed up Cassie's assertion that she had, in fact, been blackmailed. And federal prosecutors said that blackmail was meant to coerce her to sexual acts.
Sean Combs' former assistant, David James, also testified today. How did he describe what it was like working for Diddy?
David James's testimony was like some disjointed Pulp Fiction Quentin Tarantino film, even, because there was the time where he bought an 8-ball of cocaine off a yacht in Miami. And there he was driving Sean Combs to confront his rival record producer, Suge Knight, at Mel's Diner in Los Angeles. And the other time when he walked into a freak off and saw Cassie Ventura lying motionless on her back, when, as before, he said he had only saw her sleeping on her side when he used to walk in and wake up Cassie and Sean Combs to start their day. He talked about how exacting it could be to work for Sean Combs, how exhausting the 7-day work weeks were routine. And he talked about all the things he was meant to keep for Sean Combs. He remembered traveling in London, and Combs didn't like the taste of ketchup in the UK, so he had to have Heinz 57. He talked about stocking baby oil and Astroglide lubricant in hotel rooms for Sean Combs.
I also have to ask you, Aaron, about The Punisher. He was one of the people who took the stand today. He actually wrote a book that details some of his experiences with Diddy and Cassie. What did he tell the jury?
The book is called In Search of Frozen Meat, and it apparently is now on Amazon, the #1 best-selling
Oh, shit. In Search of Frozen Meat
book about male impotence. And he talked about erectile dysfunction and his belief that receiving a penile implant is the solution. This testimony, though, really focused on the 8 to 12 times that he said he was called by Cassie Ventura, who for most of the time he knew as a woman named Janet, where he was called to create a sexual scene, as he described it. And eventually, what started with rubbing baby oil on one another became more sexual. He talked about one time where he and Cassie Ventura had performed oral sex. Sean Combs threw a box of condoms on the couch and said, "Go ahead," and indicated that he wanted Hayes, Sheree Hayes, his real name, to have intercourse with Cassie Ventura.
The last witness of the day, curious to ask you about this, was a federal agent. What did he show the jury?
He showed the jury items that
my cousin all up in court. Boy, I tell you, man.
He said were seized from Sean Combs's Miami Beach home, including 2 AR-15 style rifles that were pulled off a shelving unit in the main bedroom, and they were intermingled with baby oil, with Astroglide lubricant, with lingerie, and with 7-inch platform heels, all on the same shelves. The upper receiver for the weapon was found wrapped in a towel. The lower receiver was found in a box with ammunition.
Aaron Katersky for us again at the courthouse. Aaron, thank you so much. Let's bring in ABC News legal contributor, criminal defense attorney, and former prosecutor Bernarda Villalona, who was in the courtroom today. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. Any standout moments to you?
Definitely a roller coaster of a day today in terms of emotion, in terms of testimony, in terms of, we heard from the escort, I guess, male performer. We heard from the mom. We heard from the agent. But let's start with the most important part. We heard from Cassie Ventura's mother. Cassie Ventura's mother, can I tell you how soft-spoken she is, just like her daughter? But she was testifying with so much pain that you can see and hear in her voice. When she said, "I was scared for my daughter's safety," literally the jurors were taking notes and were like literally hanging at her every word, because she came off so credible and so emotional. You can tell the genuine fear that she had for her daughter and for what Sean Combs was doing to her. But most importantly, when they pointed to this email that Cassie has sent to her mother, and from the email about sexually explicit videos possibly being released. And then shortly thereafter, there was a demand from Sean Combs for $20,000. And if you don't get the $20,000, then we're going to release these videos. But add on to that is the injuries that for the first time she saw her daughter, and her daughter actually telling her that it was the hand of Sean Combs. So why is this important? Because it goes to extortion. It goes to the coercion. Next up, having to deal with Suge Knight and Sean Combs. Eva, we're talking about riding dirty.
His assistant
brought this up, that there was a point in time that he had went to a diner. In that diner, they saw Suge Knight. After that, they went straight back to the home. And when they went back to the home, that Sean Combs and Cassie were outside, and Sean Combs gets in the car. When he turns around in the car, he sees Sean Combs with 3 firearms in his lap, and that he was saying to, I'm not going to say the words, but to drive down to the diner, in essence, to go ahead and shoot Suge Knight. That right there was a moment where for the first time, we saw actual testimony, her testimony of what Sean Combs is capable of allegedly going out there to try to execute Suge Knight. However, I have to note that the defense did an excellent job in the sense of trying to bring doubt to his testimony, to his credibility. Are you sure? Are you sure this is what happened? So the defense may have something up their sleeve in the sense to discredit that testimony, having to deal with the alleged shooting that was about to transpire with Suge Knight.
We have to talk more too about this exotic dancer, performer, the Punisher. He testified.
Yeah, she want to hear about the Punisher.
About being
we talking about Suge Knight. She want to get back to the goddamn Punisher Hayes. You know, one of my cousins, man. Shit.
Being hired several times by Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura to create, quote, a sexy scene, I think is how it was described. Why does he matter as a witness?
So in terms of why he matters as a witness, there's strength in numbers. So remember that the prosecution is going to call other escorts to come in and testify about these freak-offs. So that way the case is not just about Cassie testifying as to these freak-offs. Now we have 2 male escorts that have testified about these freak-offs and how it transpired and how Cassie behaved and what Sean Combs was saying and what transpired doing this freak-offs. But more importantly, that he was getting paid. So the prostitution part of engaging in prostitution. But the defense did an excellent job in cross-examining this witness, because this witness said that, look, it was consensual, that Cassie enjoyed it, that nothing in his experience led him to believe that she did not want to engage into these sexual acts. Again, going to the consent portion and the willingness portion of wanting to engage in these acts. And if it's consensual, then you don't have sex trafficking.
Okay, the last witness that took the stand today was a special agent, testified about firearms that they found at Combs' Miami residence after his arrest. Is there any significance to that testimony?
Well, the significance to that testimony is that agent gave us an insight as to what was recovered during that search warrant. So they left off as to the search warrant that was executed at the Florida home. So aside from the baby oil, the stilettos, and these firearms that were recovered, the jury got to see these AR-15s. So 2 AR-15s were actually recovered and actually was shown to the jury, taken out of the evidence bag. So again, going to show that why does Sean Diddy Combs have in his possession an AR-15? But remember, there's no counts having to deal with possession of a firearm in his indictment.
All right. Bernardo Villalona, always so good to have you. And prosecutors are hoping that with every witness, they're closer to proving the charges at hand, all of which Combs has denied. Helping to build the government's case, Dawn Richard, former member of Diddy's girl group, Danity Kane. She also went on to be a part of Dirty Diddy Money. With me now is Richard's attorney, Lisa Bloom. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. I know you were with Dawn yesterday. What did she say to you after she left, after it was all done?
I don't know. I don't see how he can get out of it. Get out of this. I mean, he got people from everywhere testifying him. So he must have just been running around, just doing, like you say, doing what he wants, extorting people, threatening people. I mean, it's crazy.
She was glad she was done. You know, it's a really nerve-wracking experience to walk into federal court, to see 2 rows of defense attorneys, a row of prosecutors, all these reporters in the gallery, right? And have to raise your right hand and do your best to tell the truth, not only to the prosecutor's questions, but on a pretty challenging cross-examination. I think she did a magnificent job, and she was glad it was done and she got to go home.
I'm curious, did she want to testify? Did she want to tell her story?
I don't think she wanted to testify. She was willing to testify, and there's a difference. I don't think anybody, listen, I've been a trial lawyer for a long time representing victims of discrimination, harassment, and abuse. And I always have to beg people to testify. Nobody wants to, right? I say it's like putting on a play that none of the actors want to be in. And most people run as far as they can from the courthouse. They do not want to be there. there are a few brave people like Don Richard who say, although there's nothing in this for me, I will do it because it's the right thing to do. And that's what she did.
Yesterday on Cross, the defense tried to say Dawn couldn't keep her story straight. What do you say to that?
Well, that's silly. So, of course, anytime somebody tells a story over and over again for hours and hours, as she was required to do when the U.S. attorneys investigated this matter, there's going to be minor differences. But overall, the essence of her story was very strong, that she saw Mr. Combs engage in acts of violence against Cassie Ventura, that he threatened them. And that's been backed up by witness after witness after witness. And what Dawn also testified about were people that worked for Mr. Combs who essentially saw what was going on, the violence against Cassie, and turned a blind eye to it. And that's important because remember, this is not a case about domestic violence or assault. It's about racketeering, which is essentially a legal word for a conspiracy of a group of people to commit significant crimes. And so they allege Mr. Combs didn't do this on his own. Other people knew about it, like the CEO of Bad Boy, like assistants. That's what her testimony was about.
We know the judge limited some of what she could say there in court. Was there anything that she wanted to say that she didn't get to?
I'm sure that there was, and you're right. And it's so frustrating when you're a witness. We have our civil case that we filed before the government's criminal case. And in her civil case, she will be able to tell her own story about all of the significant issues that she has with Mr. Combs in terms of her employment with him, being underpaid, being treated badly, et cetera. So she'll have a chance there to tell her story.
Lisa Bloom, thank you so much. And we should point out that Richard is suing Combs in civil court for claims ranging from sexual assault to copyright infringement. Combs' lawyers have denied all the allegations and have filed a motion to dismiss. Thanks again. Still ahead, Cassie Ventura's mom testified, the defense choosing not to cross-examine her, how that could play in the trial. Also ahead, Obama and Diddy, why that's one of the...
Hello, Michael. I'm here, Michelle. Hey, Michael. Obama. They got Obama in the mix, y'all.
Searches online when it comes to the trial of Sean Combs. Stay with us.
Dang, man. I mean, they got everybody at these freak offs. Crazy.
As long as probably forever, there's only been one Frosty. Because what would we even do? Add a bunch of new swirl. That's kind of genius, actually. For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's.
Welcome back. Another day of key testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The witnesses taking the stand today included Cassie Ventura's mother, Regina, who testified about Cassie's bruises allegedly caused by Combs. Also before the jury today, a male escort known as the Punisher. He testified about his sexual encounters with both Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs. And last on the stand today, the special agent who was in charge of the 2024 raid on Combs' Miami Beach home. The jury seeing assault-style rifles found on a shelf inside Combs' bedroom. The serial numbers on those guns defaced. Let's dissect what happened in the courtroom today with our legal panel. Bernarda Villalona back with us. Also joining today, defense attorney and former assistant Manhattan District Attorney Jeremy Salan. Jeremy, you're going to take on the role of the defense. Bernarda, you're going to take on the role from the perspective of the prosecution. Let's start with you, Bernarda. You were in the courtroom. We talked about this earlier, Cassie's mother on the stand, and she talked about taking photos of bruises that she saw that were allegedly from Sean Combs to memorialize it. How effective was her testimony?
Well, her testimony was definitely compelling because it's coming from a mother's perspective, but also those pictures that she took, that incident right there was the first time that Cassie had ever told her or insinuated that she was being assaulted by Sean Combs. So just imagine she is responding to her daughter and trying to do something to help her out of it. The jury was deadlocked on her testimony. They wanted to hear everything she had to say. And she came off so compelling that the defense got up and say, Ms. Ventura, I have no questions for you. There was no cross-examination. But she also mentioned a second incident that's important, that there was an incident where she was in front of the hotel. This was in California. Sean Combs had taken Cassie's phone and did not want to return it. So she called the cops to try to get it back. Eventually, she got the phone back, but Sean Combs then took the car. So again, going to that coercion part, that manipulating part of Cassie.
Who's your biggest advocate in life? Your
Mom.
mother's your biggest advocate, 100%.
Mhm.
Who would lie for you? Who would steal for you? Who would cheat for you? Who will love you to the end of days? Your mother
It's
would.
like her testimony's corroborated. It's corroborated.
But why didn't the defense question her? What's the strategy there?
There's really no win. There's a difficulty going after a pregnant Cassie, even though we're not talking about 30-something-year-old Cassie. We're talking about 21-year-old Cassie. The same reason you don't go after mom. There's no win for you in that game. You're going to make her cry and make her that much more compelling and hurt her because objectively she's been hurt. Whether that means Sean Combs is an animal and a jerk and a bad man doing bad things, that's one thing. They acknowledge that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he's committed these crimes and this whole racketeering pyramid that comes up to him. So it's really kid glove and delicate when you're dealing with a mother on the stand about her own daughter, who was a victim in some capacity, even if not the way the prosecution alleges.
Okay, so the other thing we have to talk about the Punisher, the male escort.
Oh,
and a lot
yes.
of people are talking about it. She just can't
get enough of the Punisher, man.
testified to his experience, saying that he saw Sean Combs never intoxicated, that Combs was giving directions. How does that all play in all of this?
So in terms of the prosecution,
And she wants someone to punish her.
you know, you question why call
And she wants someone to punish her Hayes, doesn't she?
the Punisher, another
The Punisher. That's my cousin, man. Shit.
escort to come in and testify. Number one, there's strength in numbers when we're talking about the escorts and then talking about the free calls. But number two, also showing that, look, because remember doing opening statements, the defense wanted to portray Sean Combs, a person that was acting he was intoxicated. He was on drugs. Pretty much he wasn't understanding what he was doing. And here you have a male escort telling you, not a male escort, a performer, telling you that, look, I didn't see him intoxicated. I didn't see him under the influence of drugs. He was capable of the decisions that he was making. He was directing them as to what to do. And then again, you have
At the family reunion.
I'm going to pull Bernarda back to the side of justice here for a second. She lost her way for a moment. My response to that would be, you had a man who came in who at one point may have said that he had feelings from her to the prosecution. And then when he was cross-examined on it, well, you know, they may have been taken out of context. Well, which is it? That's pretty convenient. You admit what you can't deny and deny what you can't admit, meaning he got caught with that and now he has to have a story for it. But yes, he may have been sober and competent and okay to do whatever he was doing.
She keep every segment she want to talk about the damn Punisher.
Puppeteer, but at the same time, other than wincing and sighing a little bit in terms of Cassie's description, it wasn't as if he was being aggressive in terms of really being violent.
The Punisher took it easy on her. He was just wincing and sighing a little bit, you know.
Or assertive. He likes that kink. That's his thing. I may not want it. None of us may want it. But again, does that build that criminal pyramid in terms of a conspiracy to commit racketeering? It's still a leap. There's a lot more to come.
Another interesting detail out of tape was from the assistant that when he was supplying the hotel room for all the things that Combs wanted in there, he would pay for it, and then Bad Boy Records was who reimbursed him.
Yes. So in terms of the special stocking of what Sean Combs wanted in his room, so when we're talking about the baby oil, the Astroglide, those are items that supposedly.
The hell is an Astroglide?
Sean Combs did not want to be billed to Bad Boy. He wanted it to come out of his own personal account. But this is the thing, as the prosecutor, you argue that as consciousness of guilt. Like, why wouldn't you want it to come out if this is just normal out of your own business? You're taking it out of your own personal account because you know what you're doing is wrong and criminal.
I would argue that you would say the same thing if you actually wrote it off, and then you say there's some sort of tax fraud. So why you're writing all this stuff off that you should never be writing off? It's my personal shtick. That's what I like. It doesn't belong in my company, period.
Jeremy, Bernarda, thank you both for being here with us. And coming up, Obama and Diddy. Why, that's one of the top searches online.
It ain't so Obama.
When it comes to this trial, stay with us.
Huge news. You can get a son of for just $3. Wait, I said son of. Look at the words. Son of Baconator is $3. Thank you. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
Come on, man.
Welcome back. It was a busy day in court. 4 witnesses called to the stand: Cassie Ventura's mother, Sean Combs' one-time personal assistant, a male exotic performer, and a special agent. Time now to take a look at what people are searching for online when it comes to this trial. Some of today's biggest search terms include Diddy trial usher testimony, Sheree Hayes' book, Obama Diddy trial, and the question of when will Diddy trial end? ABC News contributor Kelly Carter joins us now from Los Angeles. She covers entertainment and pop culture for us. Okay, first up in the searches, Diddy trial usher testimony. That's trending because he was mentioned today.
Yeah.
Why the interest?
Here's the truth. Usher is a huge international superstar. He got that way because of Sean Combs's influence. He produced and really coached him in that debut album and really kind of taught him how to be a superstar. And so I think people want to search and see what that means. And of course, if there's going to be an Usher sighting at court at some point during the case of this trial.
People are also searching Obama Diddy trial. This is trending because David James, the former assistant, called Combs taking ecstasy pills marked with the face of former President Obama.
I didn't know that was
okay. So Obama wasn't there, I guess. Just the ecstasy pills had his face on it.
Even a thing that you could do. But you know what people are also trying to see, did former President Obama ever go to like a Sean Combs party? Of course, there is literally zero evidence that shows that even happened, but it's just one of those bizarre things that people are searching, trying to find something.
Yeah, we have one more search to talk about here. People are looking at when will Diddy trial end?
Yeah, you know what? We all are armchair lawyers right now and trying to figure this out. The truth of the matter is that people are learning in real time how the justice system works. And I think everyone was trying to draw their conclusions essentially after 2 days of testimony. But as we have seen, we've seen so many witnesses testify, and then we're being told how many others have yet to come to the stand. We're in this for the long haul. This is going to take over the better part of the summer for a lot of people who are interested in this trial. And I think people are really starting to have a firm understanding of that now, seeing how the progression of this trial is going.
Yeah, it's not going to be quick. Kelly Carter, thank you so much for being with us.
Let me see. Hold up.
Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the room on day 9 of Sean Diddy Combs' trial. Murmurs swept through the packed gallery. Many assumed he was there to offer background character testimony or clarify minor industry context. But what he had in store was something else entirely, a calculated, unexpected intervention that would dramatically change the trial's trajectory. Though initially not listed as a key witness for the prosecution, a last-minute legal motion saw Usher subpoenaed after a sealed video recording he had been holding privately for years was quietly handed over to federal prosecutors. Court insiders reported that Usher had wrestled with the decision for weeks. For years, he had kept this disturbing piece of footage under lock and key, unsure whether releasing it would cause more harm than good. The man he once called a mentor had long since become someone he feared, someone he no longer recognized. According to Usher, the contents of the video were so vile and disturbing that it took him 2 full days to even finish watching it in full. His first words on the stand were simple, but chilling. I was a kid. I thought I was learning about the business, but now I know I was being introduced to something else. The courtroom fell silent. He didn't speak with anger. Instead, it was a grim calmness, as if he'd finally lifted a burden he'd carried for decades. What followed was a harrowing account of his early years under Diddy's care, how he was sent to stay at Diddy's mansion at just 13 years old, under the guidance of music industry elders who trusted Diddy to mentor him. He recalled the environment, the late-night parties, the strange visitors, the sense that the house had no boundaries. It wasn't just music, he said. It was a grooming ground. He testified about waking up in rooms he didn't remember falling asleep in, about security guards who looked the other way, about being told to keep secrets if he wanted to survive in the industry. Still, none of that compared to what came next, the reason Usher was called. As reporters scribbled furiously and prosecutors leaned forward in their seats, Usher paused, glanced at the jury, and said, "I have something to show you. I didn't want to, but I can't keep this hidden anymore." Usher explained that his initial involvement with Diddy came during the early 90s, when he was just beginning to break into the industry. His mother, desperate for a solid footing for her talented son, believed Diddy could guide Usher through the murky waters of showbiz. Usher said, "She thought he could protect me, that
Wrong move.
he knew how to build stars. I don't think she ever imagined what he was actually exposing me to." He recounted how he moved into Diddy's home temporarily during the production of his debut album and the now infamous Flavor Camp sessions. These were supposed to be artist development experiences, but Usher described them as late-night adult parties, disguised as mentorship retreats. He told the court about sleepless nights and odd rules. Young artists weren't allowed to leave their rooms after certain hours, and they often heard noises they couldn't explain. Screams, laughter, or loud music, followed by crying. One evening, he was told to enter the green room, where Diddy was entertaining guests. There were girls in there. Girls I recognized from other music videos, he said. But they didn't look like they were having fun. They looked scared. Usher said he was instructed to sit down, watch, and learn. He said to me, "You want to be great, right? Then learn how to control the room." The details Usher shared weren't just shocking because of what he saw, but because of who else was present. According to his testimony, several notable industry names frequented the mansion during those years, some of whom are now billionaires and household names. He declined to name them in open court, but confirmed he'd disclosed their identities to federal investigators. It was during this portion of the testimony that Usher revealed he had started quietly documenting his experiences. "It wasn't safe to speak out, so I did the only thing I could do. I recorded things." He began cataloging certain events, dates, and behaviors. And at the center of it all, he claimed, was Diddy, a man who presented himself to the world as a businessman, but who privately operated as something far darker. The courtroom held its breath as Usher described the video, a recording given to him by a former house staffer who had worked security at one of Diddy's private estates in the early 2000s. "This footage was not meant to be seen," Usher said. "It was taken by someone who was scared, someone who knew they might disappear if it ever got out." The video, authenticated by digital forensic experts earlier in the week, was played behind closed doors in a restricted courtroom session. But Usher described its contents in painstaking detail for the jury. In the video, Diddy is seen in a private room filled with red lighting, seated with several men and one woman, who appears visibly intoxicated or unconscious. The woman is partially undressed and non-responsive. Diddy is heard laughing, giving instructions, and at one point, slapping the woman lightly and saying, "Wake up, you still got work to do." Another man in the room voices discomfort and asks if she's okay. Diddy responds, "She's fine. She's just part of the scene." Usher explained that he had received this tape anonymously 5 years ago, but didn't know what to do with it. "I was afraid," he said. "Afraid for the woman in the video. Afraid for what it meant. And afraid that if I said anything, I'd end up in the same situation as others who tried to leave Diddy's world." As he spoke, Diddy's lawyers objected repeatedly, but the judge allowed the testimony to continue, citing its relevance to establishing a pattern of behavior. Usher's words weren't just powerful, they were backed by visual proof. As news of the video leaked to press outlets later that afternoon, the story exploded across headlines. The Diddy trial had already been controversial, but now it had become radioactive. And Usher, once the prodigy molded by Diddy himself, had become the witness no one could silence. The courtroom lights dimmed slightly as a screen was wheeled in. The judge approved the footage's entry into evidence with a heavy sigh, clearly aware of the gravity of what was about to unfold. Usher, steady but clearly emotional, pointed to the USB drive he had submitted. "This is the video I've been holding on to for over a decade," he said. The courtroom went dead silent. He didn't have to say it. This was the video. The footage began playing. The clip, roughly 5 minutes long, was recorded with what looked like a hidden camera, shaky with poor lighting, but unmistakably clear in audio. The setting was a luxurious penthouse apartment. The voice of Diddy could be heard, loud and confident, addressing a group of young artists and assistants who were seated nervously in front of him. Diddy, shirtless and pacing, described in detail how the industry works, laying out a system of favors, expectations, and consequences. Then his tone shifted. He began detailing rituals, ones that didn't sound like anything from a recording studio. One moment, he was talking about sacrifice and loyalty. The next about cleaning up problems and disappearing those who spoke out. "You speak out against the circle," Diddy's voice could be heard saying. "And your whole family suffers. Ask around. They know." The camera caught one young man in the corner visibly shaking. The next sentence chilled everyone watching. "Ask Cassie what happens
Damn, Diddy got him shook.
when you run your mouth. Ask Usher." The jury flinched. Usher stepped back from the monitor, wiping a tear from his cheek. He didn't need to explain anything. That tape spoke volumes. What had once been whispers and speculation was now evidence. The video wasn't just disturbing, it was incriminating. The prosecution capitalized on the moment. "Mr. Raymond, where has this tape been?" the attorney asked. Usher hesitated. "I was afraid," he admitted. "And I wasn't the only one." The courtroom was visibly shaken as the recording concluded. A few jurors wiped away tears. Reporters had to be warned not to live tweet. Diddy's legal team requested an immediate recess, arguing that the footage was out of context and deeply prejudicial. The judge denied the request. The damage had been done. Diddy sat frozen, his eyes fixed on the floor. His jaw clenched. For the first time since the trial began, he looked like a man who knew he might not walk free again. The prosecution now had more than just testimony. They had a recording that captured the tone, the threats, and the manipulation. It was proof of Diddy's influence, of his understanding of the fear he instilled, and that it wasn't just behind closed doors. Usher testified that the video was taken during a mentor weekend in 2012, where young male artists were invited to what was described as a bonding retreat. The defense scrambled to argue the video was fabricated, but a forensic expert was already scheduled to testify that the footage was genuine and unaltered. Worse still for the defense, Several of the people in the video had already been named in other lawsuits against Diddy. Lawsuits that were previously sealed but had just been refiled. One anonymous witness, reportedly from the video, contacted prosecutors that same afternoon asking to testify. The floodgates were beginning to open. The courtroom recessed for the day, but the air buzzed with a new energy. This was no longer a celebrity case. It had become a reckoning. As reporters gathered outside, one of them shouted, "Is this Diddy's downfall?" A murmur ran through the crowd. Everyone knew the answer. Within 24 hours of the footage going public, despite the judge's gag order, leaks had already made it online, the reaction from the music industry was swift and divided. Some artists distanced themselves immediately. Drake unfollowed Diddy on social media. Beyoncé's team issued a vague but pointed statement about protecting women and artists from abuse. Others, like French Montana and DJ Khaled, remained silent. Too silent. The public was watching. Streaming services began pulling some of Diddy's catalog, pending review, and sponsors connected to his business empire started canceling partnerships. Revolt TV's board announced an emergency meeting. The king of Bad Boy Records was now radioactive, but the biggest shock came when Quincy Jones issued a statement. Quincy, an elder godfather in the industry, said, "There is a sickness in the industry that we've ignored for too long. If what I have seen and heard is real, it's time to burn it down."
Yeah, man. Didn't Quincy try to holler at Tupac? Come on, man.
And rebuild. That was a seismic statement. It wasn't just about Diddy anymore. This was about the entire structure. Meanwhile, Usher was being hailed as a hero. Not because he was perfect. He had his own scandals. But because he had dared to break ranks. "I knew I'd lose people I considered family," he told the press. "But the truth has to matter more." Still, Usher was not without fear. He had beefed up his personal security. Rumors swirled that other artists were preparing to speak out, inspired by the tape. One producer close to Diddy allegedly fled the country. The court.
And one of the responses I get is, you get the word.
And when Tupac got killed, right, if I'm not mistaken, when y'all got back to LA, Suge Knight, he called a meeting, right? And you called on Snoop in that meeting, right?
Yeah, the vibe, I think it was definitely, it was sad, you know what I mean? Because Pac just died. Maybe we just got back to LA, and it's probably a day or two later, you know, called a meeting with everybody on death row. It's countless people in the room, you know what I mean? And, you know, people was talking about just getting up, you know, having their memories about Pac. It was sad, you know what I mean? It definitely was sad. Everybody in there was looking sad. But Suge is a funny dude. Even though Pac just died, I remember he said, yeah, and you know, some people Pac was mad at,
said,
"So Moo, who was Pac mad at?" Something like that, like try to get me the incident. And I'm just young, so I'm going with the flow. Like, yeah, so Snoop Pac was mad that you did this, you know what I mean? So it was that part, now looking back at it, probably was something that I said probably wasn't a good time for that, you know what I mean? But that's the environment at Death Row. You know what I mean? That was the environment, but it definitely was sad. Everybody was there.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine, man, how that meeting was. I mean, Tupac just got killed.
This was just a meeting that Pac wanted, like, Suge just wanted to call a meeting. It was like, you know what I mean? Pac died. Everybody on Death Row come, and you know, this is what happened. What we gonna do next? You know, stuff like that. And I remember he came in the studio. We started working. Like, he was like, "Pac, we want y'all to continue to work." So we was working for some time. We still was in the studio because we were shocked, bro, and we didn't want to, like, we still was living in Pac House in and Calabasas, the Outlaws. It was difficult to stay there. So Suge was like, "Man, y'all can just come in the studio, continue working." This is what Pac want. So every day we were just in the studio, like, trying to really, you know, get this out and live in denial that this really happened. You know what I mean?
Sad, man. Unfortunate, man. But I wanted to ask you, right, about Quincy Jones. What was the relationship between him and Tupac? Because I'm sure you've been hearing about some of these rumors, man, that have been coming out over the years, man, about wild stuff, man. Like, Quincy Jones, he came on to Tupac, he offered Tupac such and such.
Yeah, I think these definitely, them rumors about Quincy Jones and all that crazy stuff about Pop was definitely rumors. Pop was about to marry his daughter. QD3 was...
There you go. He cleared it up.
Was producing for Pac even before he got with Kadada Jones and was thinking of marrying her. So Pac had a lot of, at the end he had a lot of respect for Quincy Jones. You know what I mean? The way, Pac did something in the newspaper against Quincy Jones. And that's how he met Kadada. He dissed Quincy Jones. Kadada's sister, I forget her name, she wrote Pac, and Rashida wrote Pac and kind of put Pac in her place, and Pac respected her. Wow, she came back at me and in a respectful manner about coming at her father. So when Pac seen Kadada, he went up to Kadada and was like, thinking she was Rashida, like, I read what you wrote about me. I apologize what I said about your father, this and this and that. It was actually Kadada.
Was Pac and Quincy Jones working on anything before Pac died?
I heard, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe it's actually facts, that Quincy Jones had a record company, and Pac was going to do a solo album with Young Noble through the company of Quincy Jones.
There is a sickness in the industry that we've ignored for too long. If what I've seen and heard is real, it's time to burn it down and rebuild. That was a seismic statement. It wasn't just about Diddy anymore. This was about the entire structure. Meanwhile, Usher was being hailed as a hero. Not because he was perfect, he had his own scandals, but because he had dared to break ranks. I knew I'd lose people I considered family, he told the press.
They say you're gonna break ranks. But so we already know that there's some people higher than Puff Daddy that's shaking in their boots. Watch this. Because they were like, I think when they were talking about Justin Bieber, everybody was like, well, we all know, but they were just scared to talk.
The truth has to matter more. Still, Usher was not without fear. He had beefed up his personal security. Rumors...
I don't look like no damn Usher. Oh, that must be Puffy, okay.
...swirled that other artists were preparing to speak out, inspired by the tape. One producer close to Diddy allegedly fled the country. The courtroom was scheduled to resume the next morning. Everyone knew the cross-examination would be brutal, but the conversation had changed. This wasn't about Usher versus Diddy anymore. It was about an empire collapsing under the weight of its own secrets. The courtroom was still buzzing the next morning, but what Usher revealed on the stand next stopped everything. With a heavy voice and lowered eyes, Usher looked toward the jury and said, "There's something I've never admitted in public, and I've carried the weight of it for years. I gave him Justin." Murmurs swept the room.
So he turned Justin Bieber over to Puffy.
Reporters froze mid-keystroke. "I introduced Justin Bieber to Diddy because I thought I was opening a door for the kid," Usher continued, "but I was setting him up for something I didn't fully understand back then." Back in 2008, Usher had discovered a 13-year-old Justin Bieber on YouTube and helped sign him to a joint venture under RBMG, a label created with industry mogul Scooter Braun. At the time, Diddy was circling the boy genius too, and Usher, who once called Justin his little brother, believed involving Diddy would only elevate the young star. But in court, Usher's tone made it clear. This wasn't about elevation. This was about regret. "I watched as the same cycle started repeating with him," Usher said. "The same parties, the same trips. And I thought, maybe Diddy's just trying to guide him. But then I saw the signs, the tension, the exhaustion, the fear." Usher paused, eyes red. "I remember the exact moment I felt sick about it. Justin was 15. He came back from a weekend at Diddy's and wouldn't talk to anyone. I asked him how it went. All he said was, "It's different. He's different." Then he went to his room, locked the door. I never forgot that. The courtroom was still. In a world where secrets are currency, this confession was priceless and potentially damning. The prosecution asked Usher why he hadn't intervened. "Because I was afraid," he said. "Because I had already survived it once."
So why would you, if you already know how I go, why would you introduce him to Puffy? Why didn't you take him to somebody else? That don't make sense.
And because back then, speaking out meant disappearing. You think we don't notice who vanishes in this industry? Usher claimed that after Bieber's popularity skyrocketed, Diddy began trying to remove Usher from the equation entirely. "I became unnecessary," he explained. "He had who he wanted. I was the middleman, now expendable."
That's why you should have taken him to somebody else.
And then came the most haunting line yet. "I wasn't just replaced by Justin. I was the offering." Justin Bieber was not present in court, but his name was everywhere, in testimony, in sealed documents, and now in whispers. Usher's comments sparked a quiet fury online. Fans demanded answers. "What did Justin see?" was trending within hours. But the truth, according to sources close to the trial, is that Bieber may have seen more than anyone ever realized, and he may have been threatened into silence. Prosecutors referenced a now unsealed 2015 deposition from an unrelated civil case where Bieber was asked about his time living with Diddy. The document had been heavily redacted until now. One question stood out. Were you ever in situations that made you feel unsafe while under Mr. Combs's supervision? Bieber's lawyer objected, but Bieber's response had already been recorded. "I don't want to talk about that." When pressed, he added, "They said I'd be sued, that I'd lose everything, and there's stuff on tape that they could use." Usher testified that Bieber once called him after a Diddy-hosted party in Miami. He said there were cameras everywhere. Rooms they weren't allowed to go in. People show men, some who weren't even in the music industry. But the most damning evidence may have come from a private text exchange between Bieber and an unnamed producer from Diddy's circle. In it, the producer sent a cryptic message. "You weren't supposed to remember what you saw. Too bad you left early." When prosecutors showed this message in court, gasps rang out. Usher was asked again why he brought Justin to Diddy. "Because I thought I was..."
Man, come on, bro. You thought what?
"Was giving him the world."
When you said you went through it.
He whispered. "I didn't know I was handing him to a predator." The public is now demanding a statement from Justin Bieber. But sources close to the singer say he's terrified, and possibly under NDA agreements that have kept his voice muted for years. "He was groomed," Usher said plainly, "and we all failed him." The courtroom no longer felt like a trial. It felt like a reckoning, a final exorcism of a decade's worth of buried trauma, secrets, and betrayals. And at the center of it all sat Sean Diddy Combs, still, silent, unraveling. But Usher wasn't done. In his final moments on the stand, he addressed the judge directly. "This industry has blood on its hands. Michael, Whitney, Prince, Cassie, and maybe Justin too. We keep pretending it's just drugs, just stress, just fame. But behind all of it is fear, control, exploitation." Usher then turned to Diddy. "You used me, and you used him. And for what? Power? Money? A legacy built on silence? And fear? The judge ordered the jury to disregard the direct address. But the damage was done. The courtroom's energy shifted. What had begun as a case about Cassie's abuse allegations had now evolved into a monstrous web of celebrity exploitation, psychological warfare, and generational pain. In the days that followed, subpoenas were reportedly issued for others who had been part of Bieber's early career. A call was made for Justin himself to take the stand. Whether he will remains unknown. But one thing is clear. Usher's testimony ripped a hole in the facade. He had not just exposed Diddy, he had exposed the entire machine. As court adjourned for the day, the crowd outside exploded with cameras and reporters. One sign stood out above the rest. More would come. More tapes. More testimony. Single moment of courage. When Usher finally stopped protecting the system that once tried to destroy him. After Usher's devastating final testimony, the media storm turned into a full-scale explosion. The courtroom may have gone quiet, but outside, the ripple effects of what had just occurred began to shake the foundation of Hollywood. Headlines screamed, "Usher names Diddy and Clive Davis in grooming web," while think pieces dissected every detail of the testimony and what it meant for the music law. The most shocking element, Boy Records artists contacted the prosecution. Their identities were not immediately released, but inside sources said both were male artists who worked closely with Beard from the limelight. One of them had reported on completely off the grid. The other was rumored to be battling addiction and had been in and out of rehab for years. According to leaked court transcripts, the new witnesses corroborated Usher's timeline. Not just about Justin Bieber, but about the private parties, the handlers, the surveillance, and the rituals that had long been whispered about, but never proven. One witness reportedly said, "He didn't just throw parties. He tested your limits. And if you didn't break, he made sure." A 15-year-old, as Diddy boasts, "You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be hanging out with him for 48 hours. We're going to do some grown man stuff." The clip, once dismissed as awkward humor, was now being analyzed frame by frame as evidence of something more insidious. It wasn't just former artists who were talking. A hairstylist who had worked with Bieber during the My World era anonymously shared her experience to a major outlet. She claimed that on multiple occasions, Bieber would return from meetings with Diddy visibly shaken and silent, often refusing to talk to anyone for hours. Once, she said, he told her, "I feel like I'm not real anymore, like I'm someone else when I'm with him." She thought it was teen angst at the time. Now, she wonders if it was trauma. Meanwhile, Usher was being hailed as a hero online and condemned behind closed doors. One anonymous record executive told Rolling Stone, "He broke an unspoken oath. We all knew. We all stayed quiet.
See?
And now, the whole house is on fire."
See that? They said he broke an unspoken rule. We all knew the house stayed quiet, and now the whole house is on fire.
Other celebrities reacted with cautious support. Tamar Braxton, Jaguar Wright, and even Tyrese Gibson posted cryptic messages on Instagram stories implying they'd seen similar things but were too afraid to speak. Chris Brown liked a series of tweets that openly accused Diddy and Clive Davis of orchestrating a machine of silence. Though he said nothing himself, the implication was clear. They knew something. And now, thanks to Usher, the floodgates were opening. Kanye West, who had already taken the stand earlier in the week, doubled down in a surprise live stream the next night. Wearing a black hoodie and no expression, Kanye said, "I told you, you didn't listen. They came for Mike, they came for Whitney, and they came for me. You think Diddy acts alone? Diddy's a foot soldier. This whole thing goes deeper than you can imagine."
See? Said Diddy a foot soldier. So who's the people that's behind him?
Usher just cracked the first layer. But if you keep digging, you'll find the devil sitting on a throne, smiling. While some dismissed Kanye's words as conspiracy-laced rambling, others couldn't ignore the eerie alignment of his claims with the events unfolding in court. The Department of Justice reportedly reached out to Usher's legal team to discuss his testimony and the evidence submitted. Though there was no official investigation into Diddy beyond the current civil and criminal charges, insiders say the federal government is monitoring closely and could intervene if trafficking or coercion can be proven across state lines. And then came a final twist. A sealed document from 2017 was leaked to a major outlet, showing that Usher had tried to go to law enforcement once before. The report, labeled Confidential Celeb Division, revealed that Usher had submitted a complaint describing potential grooming and coercive behavior targeting minors within Diddy's circle. The complaint was ignored. The officer who filed it later left the department. Now, with the world watching, those same ignored warnings were being blasted across every screen and newspaper in America. What once was silenced was now impossible to bury. Usher's decision to reveal the secret video, testify about Justin, and implicate the machine behind Diddy's empire did more than shock a courtroom. It shattered a pact of silence that had held for decades and gave courage to the voiceless. The narrative had shifted. Diddy wasn't just on trial for what happened with Cassie. He was now the face of something darker, something that had operated in the shadows for far too long. And now the shadows were screaming back.
Yeah.
As I speak right now, Cassandra Ventura has taken the stand. Now, unfortunately, in this case, in a federal case, there are no cameras in the courtroom. There is no audio in the courtroom. But we are going to do our best to report to you in real time what is happening with her testimony and analyzing her testimony in real time. And we're going to also be taking
these are the pictures from Kim Porter's house. Everybody saw how the dude was walking outside of Kim Porter's driveway. Everybody in the courtroom, they gathered right in the car. This is a sad situation. I would like to send my condolences, and I would like to say R.I.P. Kim Porter. Hit the like button if you feel that Diddy did something to Kim Porter when he went inside. Diddy's son was shocked when he heard Cassie say that she got the footage on her phone. If they need her to bring any MP3s or any hard drives to the court, she will, just to plead her case so she could get justice from all the stuff he put her through all these years. If he was doing this to Cassie, it makes it believable that he did this to Kim Porter and all them other women and them people. I want y'all to know this is a sad situation, but we see this happen time after time. Diddy, he put himself in this situation. They gonna get Diddy the max. The feds are not playing no games. The feds got a 99% conviction rate. I want y'all to drop down in the comment section that Diddy set up Kim Porter and Tupac. Suge Knight, he may have to take the stand and let them know exactly what happened. Keefe D, he got that money. He gave that money to Orlando Brown. And next thing you know, Orlando Brown did that to Tupac. Tupac could still be here with us right now if they didn't get down on him. It was a lot of people at them parties that Diddy used to be having. Diddy, he had cameras in the wall. Diddy, he knew everybody that was coming in. He had them on the list, a guest list. The Fed said that everybody who was outside by the swimming pool, right there by that swing, right there in Diddy backyard by that 50-foot bed, he said that the people who was out there, it was a select handful of people who went inside the mansion after hours. Now, we know for a fact that the footage they got from inside of that room, Diddy, he did some of the horrendousest things to these people. And these people have family. These people got kids that care about them. A lot of people don't know, but Diddy, he tried to put out information about these people when these people are the same ones that he threatened to come to the party. Now he's trying to blackmail them. I want y'all to know it all bit Diddy in the ass. At the end of the day, Diddy thought that he was going to get away with this. No, Lil Rod told them that he saw how Diddy made Cassie do that to all them workers. A lot of people saw what happened with Kid Cudi. We saw what happened with Tupac. We saw what happened with Biggie. J-Lo was the main one that said that Kid Cudi could have avoided everything. J-Lo said that she was trying to get away from Diddy from the beginning, before this even came a thought that the feds was going to run in and do this to Diddy. This been happening for over 20 years. Nobody came forward until them NDAs expired. Diddy, he was shit out of luck because a lot of people that he trusted, they turned on him. A lot of people knew that they didn't want their hands in that dirt. It's blood on that money that Diddy was getting. And they said that he even set up a couple of his own artists. Hit the like button if you think that Diddy set up his own artists, because Young Miami, she was doing her little drug running. As soon as Young Miami hopped out that black Sprinter truck, she walked inside the building with her security. She looked to the side at everybody who was standing on the sideline behind the barricades, and then turned her head back forward and started walking inside the court building. Now, in the federal court, they cannot have cameras in there, but we're giving y'all an update in real time. I want everybody to know this is a sad situation, but Diddy knew it was coming for him. Just imagine the evidence and the footage that we're going to see of the people in the workers that Diddy had to go in there and do this to Cassie. Now, Cassie, she's pregnant right now. RIP to everybody.
Damn, does she even know who the baby daddy is? It's crazy.
Who was lost behind is because Cassie had to go through what she had to go through with Diddy and his parties. And it's so sad that Cassie had to sit there for all them years and watch how Diddy set up all them people to get RIP Tupac, RIP Kim Porter. Jaguar Wright said that she releasing everything, and she came to court. She was looking at everybody who was coming in like, you was there at that party, you was there. They put their head right down. Gene,
yeah, they are all of it gonna come out, y'all.
Deal was the one who exposed everything at the beginning. They didn't believe him. Jaguar Wright, she kept telling them, Diddy a monster, Diddy a monster. Next thing you know, it ended up coming out that he did that to Cassie. He tried to hurry up and pay her off. And from what the court transcripts are stating, as soon as he paid her off, there's something in the clause that states that she still could come to court and press criminal charges on her.
And that's what and that's what we was wondering about. Me and my wife was wondering about, like, well, she got paid off. Why is she still speaking? But they found a loophole, and Diddy didn't know.
If she didn't want him locked up, she would not be standing there in that courtroom. She got the money, so regardless of how he feel about it, how she looked at it, the money was just for the pain and suffering. The feds ain't playing no games. I want y'all to drop down in the comment section, RIP Kim Porter, get well Cassie. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you think that J-Lo gonna come forth and let them know exactly what happened just to cover her own ass. The Fed said as soon as they went in the master bedroom, that's when they saw the cameras that was up in the corner. They had cameras inside of the picture frames on the wall. As soon as they went in the bathroom, that's when they saw everything. Diddy had so much stuff that wasn't even in the closet, that was just out in the open. He was freely just going in there, grabbing the stuff, putting it in the drink. Going back in there, grabbing the stuff to tap people up. I want y'all to know this is a sad,
tying people up.
Sad situation. Diddy, he bogus. Let me know if y'all think that Diddy bogus for what he did to these people down in the comment section. Hit the like button if you feel that Diddy, he's gonna get the max. Rick Ross, he was that too. French Montana, DJ Khaled, and a couple more other people who Cassie mentioned. She got the footage in her phone. The feds not finna show no remorse. The same way that Diddy did them people, it's the same way the feds finna do him. At the end of the day, Diddy, he brought this upon himself. You have to watch the people you keep around you. He had everybody at his parties, even pastors. He had lawyers, all type of stuff. And I want y'all to know, Kim Porter kept telling him, you need to get out before it's too late. Diddy didn't care. All that money that Diddy had, he thought that he could just pay his way out of everything. All the contacts that he had, all the connections that he had, he thought that these people would be right there in his corner. Do you know the stuff that he did? J-Lo don't want to get caught up in this, but J-Lo is a part of it. Young Miami is a part of it. She was running the drugs on the private jets. A lot of people felt that the drug mule, he said Young Miami was orchestrating everything. She was scratching off all the shipments on the list. Diddy, he bogus for making them people do that, but a lot of people felt that Young Miami, she been trying to get out of this for a long time. Everybody knew Young Miami was at them parties. A lot of movie stars was at that party, but Diddy, he kept their names a hush until he got caught. This goes to show you can't trust people because a person will turn on you when all the heat get on them. Diddy and Hot Water.
Man, I wonder who, like if anybody above him is going to get caught.
Right now, and the feds ain't playing no games. RIP to these people, man. I would like to say RIP Tupac, man, because Tupac, all he did was diss Diddy for the stuff that he was doing that people didn't believe. They didn't believe Tupac. Tupac been telling them for a long time how Diddy got down and how Diddy used to rock. Mike Tyson even said Diddy, he's not to be trusted. Diddy gave him $1 million to do that to Tupac. If Tupac would have never went to Las Vegas, this would have never happened to him. RIP Tupac. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Cassie, once she came in and she stood on the bench, she talked to the people. She let the prosecutors know everything that she already memorized and went over because she wanted to make sure she get everything right because she want Diddy gone. Regardless of what's going on, Diddy thought that he had a fair chance with Cassie, but you should have never put this woman through this stuff for all these years. And now the DA is looking at the potential evidence that has been brought forth, stating that J-Lo was involved in what happened with Shine back in 2000. Everybody knew exactly what happened in the club. Diddy, he put the whole case on Shine when he was the one that snuck the gun in and he did what he did once he got into it with somebody he felt that they disrespected him. This is why you can't go certain places. A lot of people put themselves in these predicaments, and a lot of people don't know that a lot of things come back on you regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of how much money you have. Now, the feds are looking at everything from a standpoint as if Diddy's family, they're there to support him, but Diddy didn't know that they was going to bring up what happened with Tupac and Kim Porter. I want y'all to let me know if you're a fan of Tupac down in the comment section. People felt that it went unnoticed, unheard of.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, hold up. Let's see.
Get over yourselves.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And he gonna react to all the stuff snitching. Stop self snitching. Look, he even got hats. Let me hear that little intro again. Get it.
I'm so horny I can't concentrate. Jesus Christ. Get over yourselves.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. You know I'm serious because I'm wearing my pearl-handled pistol cufflinks so graciously gifted to me by our former content genius, that we all knew as Michael Rivers. God rest his soul. Today we are reacting to more news in day 6 of the Diddy trial. Now, here's the thing. This is federal court. It's serious business in federal court. The federal government wins. I don't know what their stats are there, but it's high. It's like 96% of their cases. They don't fuck around. When you've got the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, the CIA, the BLE, the BAPALE, the this and that, when you have all these different organizations and unlimited budgets at your fingertips, you damn well better win all your cases. Anyway, before we get to an update on Mr. Diddler, remember that our sponsor, which is askalawyer.com, which is really, before anything that Diddy started, he should have went to askalawyer.com. Instead of paying millions of dollars for his defense, he could have just spent $49. Ask the lawyer on staff, is this a good idea? They'd say no. Thanks for the $49. And you save yourself a big fucking headache, Diddler. But guess what? If you have an issue that whether it's a landlord-tenant issue, whether it's somebody messed with your car, or a criminal or civil, whatever kind of issue you might have, and you want to just, do I have a claim? Do I need a lawyer? Go to askalawyer.com. For $49, you get a real lawyer. And if you want to do your own research, they've got an AI component trained on all the 50 states. Grandma's downstairs typing her little fingers off, trying to see if she's got a claim against me, but she doesn't, because I feed her internet service on a very ad hoc basis. Just kidding. That's not true, actually. It really is an effective way. So to find out if you've got, what's the next step here for me? And so go to askalawyer.com. Askalawyer.com, very effective way to find out, if you have a claim, or if you want to do your own research, go to askalawyer.com. Same people that brought you eForms and eSign. So we love them. So should you. Give them a little love. Okay. Now, I've seen a couple comments, or it's been brought to my attention. A couple comments are like, what is RICO? What is, what does the government have to prove? What don't they have to prove? What's this sex trafficking business all about? What is the transportation of for the purpose of process? Why is this a federal case? Why is there a RICO dude with only one defendant? Honestly, usually you see multiple defendants. I'm in trial right now on one. So let's just go with what is RICO. So RICO is the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act, and it was originally brought around the time that the mafia was big in this country. And it was a tool that the government used to put everybody under one umbrella. And when you do that, it makes it kind of anything you do under that umbrella becomes a crime, basically. Not anything you do, but anything that's criminal and done in furtherance of the organization. Even if you didn't do the things that are being accused, like somebody else did them, but you're in agreement with them, basically it was to get the bosses. So the boss can be over here, but all of his minions are over here doing all kinds of stuff. But the boss is standing alone and said, I didn't do any of that. Well, you didn't, but they were doing it for you and kicking it up to you. So let's just talk about exactly what the elements are. Number one, they have to prove that an enterprise existed. That isn't going to be hard at all. So number one, there's an enterprise. Number two, that the enterprise affected interstate commerce. Well, Diddy had 2 homes. He was doing business all over the world. So that's not going to be hard. Number 3, that the defendant was associated with or employed by it was his enterprise. So number 3, you've already got that done. And number 4, the defendant engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity. Now, we'll get to that in a second. And the last one is that the defendant conducted or participated in the conduct of the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity through the commission of at least 2 acts of racketeering activity as set forth in the indictment. So they have to prove at least 2 acts that he acted in a way that was at least 2 acts of racketeering activity committed within 10 years of each other. The government must show that the racketeering predicates are related and that they amount to or pose a threat to continued criminal activity. So when we look at the indictment, one of the first things they talk about is the enterprise. From at least 2008 through about the date of the filing, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others, known or unknown, were members of the associated criminal organization and basically forced labor, interstate transportation for the purpose of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So if he's conducting his affairs all over the country, bringing in drugs, bringing in prostitution, preventing people from leaving, hurting people, doing all, bringing sex workers in, preventing people from leaving. One of the accusations is that he would keep people there for days after being abused for days to let them heal so that when they left, they didn't have any scarring, that kind of thing. And that's kidnapping. It's just
that's kidnapping.
Kidnapping. So then they talk about, so they got the enterprise and then the purpose of the enterprise. Operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels, recording studio, an apparel line, alcoholic spirit business, marketing agency, and a television network and media company. There's no question that they've got an enterprise, that they have a purpose of the enterprise, and then the method and means of the enterprise. So I know this is kind of a little bit drawn out here, but it's very esoteric and kind of complicated. So I want you to understand exactly what we're talking about. So then Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded power and prestige over Combs' role at the business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit. So one of the things, so you've got the actual physical side of things, and then you have the coercion side of things. So he was a media mogul. I mean, he just was. He had power, influence, and like one of the things that Cassie testified about was she felt she was powerless, and he held all the cards. He controlled her every move. He controlled her financially. He controlled her physically. He controlled her career. He controlled her at all different levels until she finally had enough and left. Now, if I'm his lawyer, I try to say that the businesses were legitimate businesses and anything he did was not in furtherance of the enterprise's common goals or plan. That the freak-offs were nothing but consensual. They were freak-offs. We were all freaks. I mean, we were all getting our, everybody wanted to do that, man. Hey, everybody wanted to be at a Diddy party because there's no party like a Diddy party, right? Give me a break. Oh, I bet it stinks in the Diddy party. Oh, anyway, just gross. Honestly, I'm man on top. Get it over with quick. I can't imagine days and days of being penetrated by Mr. fucking Atlas. I mean, who wants to do that? Well, maybe Robert does, but Robert's one of our editors here. He's a good guy. Anyway, but what I'm trying to tell you is that you have this overarching enterprise, and then you have the common purpose of the enterprise, right? That's how the indictment's laid out. And here's why the other thing that bothers me about this whole indictment, I can't believe there aren't more people being charged because he didn't do this by himself. The only way people get out of being charged is by becoming witnesses. And then you got bought and paid for testimony. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs, among other things, booking hotel. I mean, all this stuff, you're acting in furtherance of the conspiracy, right? But he's the only one charged. Combs subjected his victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. In other words, they weren't consensual. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery to stay silent and not report what they experienced or new to law enforcement. Somebody could have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, but it cannot be part of the agreement that you don't go to the cops. That's illegal. That can never be a term of the. So let's talk about the conspiracy. From at least 2008 through on or about the filing of this indictment in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others known and unknown, blah, 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 to conduct indirectly and directly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. So, and really it's multiple acts involving kidnapping, multiple acts involving arson, he's burning people, multiple acts involving bribery, multiple acts of witness tampering or intimidation. I think one of the witnesses testified that she was told that witnesses can disappear. Sex trafficking, transportation to induce travel for prostitution, and multiple offenses, the possession with intent to distribute drugs. So you've got all these different, so it's not just about sex trafficking, and people kind of lose sight of that. This is about drugs. This is about intimidation. It's about witness tampering. It's about arson, setting something on fire. I don't even remember what that's all about yet. But it's about all these different things added up to one. And that's why he's charged with racketeering. Because if you charge racketeering, it's a big umbrella. And the guidelines are incredibly high. There's a special sentencing enhancement that they talk about on paragraph 15 of the indictment. Notice of special sentencing factor, and that relates to sex trafficking. So then you got count 2, sex trafficking. What is sex trafficking? That's where I'll tell you what the actual elements of sex trafficking are. I know this is kind of tedious, and we'll get into some of the substance of what's happened so far, but I think it's instructive because it gets you to better understand where the government's coming from. So sex trafficking. First, the defendant knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, or solicited a person for sex. Second, the defendant knew or was in reckless disregard of the fact that force, threats of force, fraud, coercion, or any combination would be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act. And third, the defendant's acts were interstate commerce. I don't know if he charged for these freak offs or not, but when you hire a prostitute and make that guy have sex with your wife or your girlfriend, and she's kind of an unwilling participant, and you make her do this, and other people are watching for their enjoyment, for days, which is, I think, what the allegation basically is, then you have, and if you don't do it, I'm going to ruin you. That's force, fraud, or coercion. That's coercion, basically. So then we have transportation to engage in prostitution. This one's the easiest one out of all of these. First, the defendant knowingly attempted to transport a person in interstate commerce. Basically, I'm giving you an airline ticket to fly here, or I ask you to come here. Second, the defendant attempted to transport a person with the intent that such person engage in prostitution. I hire Mr. Atlas. I'm just going to call him Mr. Atlas, all oiled up because he's got 100 bottles of olive oil or body oil, baby oil, joy jelly, whatever you want to call it, on his way. So he's coming to do this. Third, that if the sexual activity had occurred, which we know it did, based upon the sexual activity that occurred, the defendant could have been charged with criminal offense under the laws of the United States. In other words, if it's just regular prostitution. So third and fourth, the defendant did something that was a substantial step towards committing the crime, and that strongly corroborated the defendant's intent to commit the crime. Mere preparation is not a substantial step towards committing the crime. To constitute a substantial step, a defendant's act or actions must unequivocally demonstrate the crime circumstances. The jurors do not need to agree unanimously as to which particular act or actions constitute a substantial step. So those are the charges that he's facing. Okay. Now, how would I handle this? I don't know. There's much of a defense to have the prostitute come in and say, I was just doing this to have fun with Diddy. I didn't get paid, but he got paid, and I think they have records that they got paid. And Diddy probably tried to deduct it from his taxes. I would bet. So Cassie took the stand for several days of testimony at Diddy's trial, and they read in dozens and dozens of text messages. They also had some recordings that Diddy didn't know she had. And here's the other thing. In federal court, you don't have to give your testimony or your discovery until like 3 days before the trial or before the appearance of the witness. So it is trial by ambush. There's no question about that. The highly prejudicial publicity in the letter that the judge received a letter from Diddy's lawyers. And when did this went out? Oh, that was October 20th. What the fuck? Why is that? So they're reading some of these text messages. And here's the thing. You've got messages from Cassie saying, that she's always ready to freak off. In other words, you've got, and that I would pound on that. I would absolutely take that to Pound Town, for lack of a better word. When do you want to freak off? Am I supposed to come back to you? So this is, I think, from Diddy. LOL, I'm going up to change and put my ring in. You know what kind of ring that is, I think. I just picked it up. I'm always ready to freak off. And then from Puffy, that was from Puffy. It says, when? Do you want to freak off? And that's from BG New Pin. I think that's from Cassie. Me too. I miss you already. Me too. I just want it to be uncontrollable. I can't wait to watch you. I want you to get real hot. I can't wait to stare at some big black dick. These are powerful statements. And I can't wait either. I can't wait. That's why I want to see. I'm thinking about licking those dicks. From the blanks to the blank, then slowly lowering my mouth to let it hit the back of my throat. These are from Cassie ostensibly. You listen to these and they don't sound like she's looking for help, right? LOL, sorry, I'm nervous. I feel like I want to fuck. How you feeling? Talk to me. Oh my God, I just about to text you the same thing. They've got a lot of text messages from her. And they're going to have to show that she was doing this, but not really in the back of her mind, she doesn't want to do this. They had somebody come in and testify that that she saw Cassie being hit, and I think it had to do with a pan. She had a pan thrown at her or something. And this is not on camera. This is from 2009. Okay, I'm so horny I can't concentrate. Jesus Christ, get over yourselves. So what? So what do you want to do? I'm going to Dwayne Reed to grab candles, and then I'm going home. Close.
Never am. That's enough. Oh, there's no way to go sleep. Ain't doing it anymore. Falling asleep. Let's stop saying. All right, I'll get up out of here. We out of here, man. I'm tired.